This is Smithy.tv.
The things are rolling. You never did stand up. I'm gonna tell you straight off. I never really watched the old Ed the Song shows much because I'm kind of a grown up. But I caught you at when you did your New Year, the end of the New Year's fromage.
Oh, fromage, yeah.
And I was howling. I'm going, this is a vicious bastard here because you're hilarious. You're vicious. And then the next time I caught you doing something, you know, when Ed was doing it was his political rant.
Yeah.
And I'm going, this fucking guy's brilliant. Why isn't he doing stand-up? And
You mean Ed?
No, you. Never mind the fucking sock you hide behind. You.
There's no hiding. There's no hiding.
There's this guy, and then there's you underneath and make him
But
spill these things
they're two
out.
different people.
But you wrote it for him. And I'm sitting
Sometimes I have to give credit. My wife Leanna also writes the stuff, so it's a
Don't
combination
give her credit.
of two.
She'll take 3/4 of what you got if things ever go bad. But
She'll earn it. She's lived with me for 18 years.
But I'm sitting there, I'm just going, if you were a stand-up, well, you'd be broke. But if you were a stand-up, you would have been brilliant, and you would have uplifted the whole fucking game. Okay, just from hearing what you were doing then, and just sitting back hearing that rant, you would have given Rick Mercer a run for the money with social commentary. You definitely would have lit a fire under my ass. You would have shown a whole lot of guys how and what it should have been done. That's why I was thrilled when Ryan said, you know, how about Steve? And I said, yes. So
right,
you never
okay.
did stand up, but and that was a choice you made for whatever reasons.
It just never happened. Is all. I got into doing comedy a completely different way.
Yeah.
And you know, through television and my cable station. And quite frankly, when I was doing TV, there was really no time to be doing much of anything else.
Yeah.
We had our
It's
budget
a
was
grind.
this big,
Yeah.
and there was 3 of us making a weekly show. Plus all the MuchMusic content, which was weekly, so there was no time to, unfortunately, to branch out to other things. But
you
listen,
definitely
I
would
give
have
you
had
guys
the chops.
thank you,
You
but
would
I
have had
give
the
guys like
chops.
you credit. If we're going to be kissing ass here, I give guys like you credit because you stand up there and there's nothing but you and the mic, and that people don't understand it's an art. You can't just get up there with a microphone and talk to people. There's a way of engaging with the audience and a way of reading the audience. I've done it with Ed, reading people in a different way.
Yeah.
But I've never read it that way, and you guys who got the experience and the mastery of it, it is a skill. It's not just somebody who's a smartass.
It's very hard to read the crowd. I've never really done much of that. I basically,
Fuck 'em.
It's like, this is what I'm giving you, people.
That's it.
And then halfway through it's like, they ain't buying it today, Kenny. So
I remember being backstage with Harland Williams. Harland, back when we were doing Ed on cable, Harland was a co-host for a lot of episodes. Then he moved to LA.
Okay.
And before he went on stage, he said, "Steve, I'm gonna go out there and bomb." And I said, "No, you're not. You're fine." He says, "No, I'm going to bomb." And he went out there, and I don't know if it was deliberate or not, or he just
Probably.
read the audience, because his material was still good, but something about it, he knew he was going to stink, and it was his goal to bomb.
Well, Harland's always been always been a wild card and a weird
yeah.
cat. Actually, I gave him his first gig. It was up in Newmarket. And I had one comic from out of town from the States, and he's sitting in the back saying, how much further, where are we going? Because we're just passing through all these cornfields and everything,
Back when there was cornfields getting to
Yeah.
Newmarket. Yeah, now it's all malls.
During that one stretch of highway, there still isn't anything there yet, and Harlan was up there, we're gonna get paid for telling jokes. I went, yeah. And to him, it seemed like the wildest thing, and then one time he had he was outside of Yorkville, and he had a card table, and he was selling barbecued thumbtacks. I don't know if he sold many, but I'm going, this is something wrong with this child, And then he asked me, because I recorded an album, but it was on cassette. So he asked me how did I go about it. So I told him I rented a reel-to-reel 4-track and this and that.
Oh, remember those days?
Oh, from Long and McQuaid, I
Now you just need this.
You just need that, and you got a movie.
Yeah.
So Harlan recorded it on his kitchen table with a tape recorder, without it, I had all kinds of weeks of taping and
Yeah.
wanted this, and he just basically just talked to himself on his recorder, and he was selling his cassette tapes after.
I still have some of the cassette tapes. I remember one. The title was "When Rhubarb Turns to Radish."
Okay.
It's just bizarre, and it was it was almost Robin Williams-esque in the way it just went from one thing to another.
That's Harland.
Yeah, very brilliant comic. All right, so what are we talking about?
Okay.
Enough about us.
Well,
All of a sudden, we're Dick Cavett.
Well, he's got a special in the Vietnam War coming out on PBS this Wednesday.
Dick Cavett?
Yeah, where he has.
How can he do a special on the Vietnam War and somehow bring it back to him? Because Dick Cavett's famous for, but enough about you.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how Dick Cavett can do a special about news that somehow doesn't involve him.
Well, it's great. They have all the footage of all the celebrities that talked about the Vietnam War during that time.
Yeah.
Because back in those days, they would talk about such a thing. You
No,
know, now.
yeah, now
it's like, here's a song
you don't-
about killing ragheads.
If you don't wave a flag now,
Yep.
you're a bad guy. I bemoan the state of, sitcoms
Yeah.
used to be about something. You watched, you could not, for all the groundbreaking TV that people are doing now, you couldn't do All in the Family now.
Never.
Nobody, they almost didn't greenlight it then, but it got greenlit, and there was a sitcom where people were talking about something. You had two generations, two perspectives, somehow managing to find humor in the fact
Yep.
that neither side was perfect, but they talked about things, they talked about issues, and managed to make it funny and relatable. There were
Norman
other
Lear.
shows that could do that.
Norman Lear was the, magician.
There's
He had all
no
that stuff
today we
happening.
don't have Norman Lear. We have Chuck Lorre, and we have the same formula, the same shit. I can't stand anything that he does. I can't stand situation comedies except for a show called Blackish on ABC, which I think is absolutely brilliant.
Well,
it
look
is
at the cast.
The writing
Yeah.
is the cast is amazing, especially the kids. It rises a lot on the kids, and they're incredible. But the writing is so sharp. It's like the sharpness of like an HBO comedy, but on a network.
network, yeah.
Other than that, I have no interest in sitcoms because they're mostly sit and not a lot of calm.
Yeah. And they've got the laugh track or the live in front of a studio audience that's been drugged to accept everything.
Yeah.
But getting back to the Dick Cavett thing,
Yeah.
he's got all of his guests that he interviewed. Like they're just showing the old clips. So there's like Jimi Hendrix talking about it.
Yeah.
There's Groucho.
Wow.
Groucho Marx getting
Yeah.
his spin on Vietnam. And so
I'd be curious to see what Groucho's attitude would have been back then.
well, I don't know if Groucho ever did I don't know if Groucho ever got paraded out with Bob Hope for all the USO specials.
I don't know.
So
I don't know. For sure Hope did, but I don't know if that'd be curious because at that time Groucho was sort of in a transitional period as to who he was and how he was performing, and lots of those old comics were very conservative by nature. But he also was subversive in his comedy. So I'd be really curious. That has made me interested in watching the special.
And you got then you got the whole Smothers Brothers and what have you during that entire period of time.
Yeah.
Jimmy Stewart lost his son in Vietnam, so I think that's going to be interesting TV for
It's PBS, you said?
Yeah, PBS. Well, that's where you have to go to see that and all things English.
Yeah, you used to be able to see it on the History Channel, but now the History Channel, I guess they define history as anything that happened before they rolled the camera is
That's it.
history. So you can go watch loggers, and stuff like that. There's no history. History used to be jokingly called the World War II Channel. Now
That
it's
was
just
better.
It was better because it was actually history as
Yeah.
opposed to all this reality show crap. Nobody actually sticks to their knitting anymore. And in Canada, we don't have to anymore because they said a few weeks ago, specialty networks, you don't have to actually be a specialty network. Put on whatever you want.
Well, that's just like the music stations. MuchMusic started playing more comedy videos and movies.
But they changed their name to Much. They dropped the music altogether.
Yeah, it's much of what?
It's not much of what it used to be.
Much of
and
what?
yeah, it's I could talk for hours about that because that's a place that was close to my heart, and what
Yeah.
they've done to it is.
You
I
put
saw it
almost
happening.
20 years in with that outfit, almost, huh?
14.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw it happening, and it was happening before the sale. Everyone says after it got sold. No, it was happening before that, which is why I quit before the sale. But never has a network in Canada positioned itself so poorly and so incapable of. They were already doing the things that were getting popular with the audience.
Yeah.
MuchMusic was, in a sense, YouTube.
Groundbreaking,
It was like everything was made up on the spot.
Well, that booth. And
Yeah,
exactly.
and Speaker's Corner. You knew that this stuff was being made up on the spot. There was inspiration. People cared. It wasn't manufactured. And that's what the audience wanted. And just as YouTube was starting to become a thing, MuchMusic decided they wanted to become big and shiny. So they moved away from all the things that made it MuchMusic and then said, why aren't people watching MuchMusic anymore? Well, because you pivoted the complete opposite direction of the crowd.
Like once upon a time, that was the thing where it was CityTV everywhere, and if you were somewhere where the camera was, you were excited.
Yeah.
And now you went, And especially when they did the late night movies where they get the people on the street to throw in and everything. It really was
Networks,
interactive.
corporations are afraid of personalities. Because if you have a personality, it means some people will like you and some people won't.
Right.
And they want everyone to like them or have no opinion of them at all.
That's the Canadian model.
Yeah, have no opinion. They want people to have no opinion about their media at all. That way, they may watch something on it. They're not going to turn away from it. They don't want you necessarily to like them. They just want you to have no opinion.
Okay, here's something I want to ask you.
Yeah.
You know, you had a nice run with them. What kind of crazy hate mail did you get? Because you're talking about liking you and disliking you.
Nothing. Almost
Really?
nothing. Almost zero hate mail. It was all positive. And in fact, the funny thing is, I mean, the MuchMusic stuff was all ages in a sense.
Yeah.
You know, it was still ed, but, you know, you talk to kids differently than you talk to adults.
Right.
That was enormously popular. The City show, when it ran on Fridays, it beat Leno and Letterman. It did huge numbers.
Mm-hmm.
We got 2 complaints in 14 years
Wow.
to the CRTC and the Standards Council. 2.
If you sing the national anthem now, you get two
Exactly.
complaints.
Before you're finished.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had 2 complaints. One was upheld and it was a minor thing. The other was dismissed. People knew.
What was the one that was upheld?
Oh, I don't even remember
You
it.
blocked it out of your mind real good.
It was something about. Oh, I remember now. It was Craig Campbell was the co-host at the
Okay.
time, and he said that I forget. Certain type of woman, they fuck like you're stabbing them. And we understood what he meant by the frenzied.
Yes.
Well, someone said that it was promoting violence against women and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah.
And so we had to say, the station had to say, we got a complaint and we're sorry. And they aired it like twice or whatever they were
The
supposed to
apology
do.
or him saying
The
they fucked
apology.
like they were
The
stabbed?
apology.
Yeah.
We didn't have anything to do with it. And to their credit, they never told us, don't do this, don't do that. They trusted our judgment. In
Great.
fact, the City show went on the air without anybody seeing it in advance. And usually people vet it and they give you notes.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point they said, we really should be watching that show before it goes on. Because I would tell them, I said, something's contentious. Well, I'd go to the lawyer and say, well, have a look, when something I thought came up. So they started watching the show, and there was no contentiousness. And after about 6 weeks, they said, "We're just gonna we don't have time to watch the shows.
We're
just
deal
gonna,
with it
we're just
when it
gonna put it
happens."
on." And they didn't get complaints.
That's
you know.
incredible, because now when you think about how everything causes a shitstorm.
Oh yeah, everything you do and then everything you don't do
Yeah.
causes a shitstorm. All we got was encouragement. All we got was
Wow.
people appreciating what we were doing, and that's.
That totally is a different time.
Oh, completely. Nowadays, nobody speaks up to appreciate what you're doing. You understand that you're making inroads and getting attention and stuff if people are complaining enough.
Okay.
But, because that's how you know you get feedback. Listen,
Negative reinforcement.
that's,
Yeah.
listen, you bake the world's best cherry pie, you'll find someone who only likes apple. That's the nature of the world, but somehow people think that the person who likes apple pie thinks nobody should make cherry pies.
And there shouldn't be any other kind.
And you shouldn't even talk about cherry pies because it's offensive and you're oppressing me.
And I don't want a crust on top of it, just pure apple.
That's-
More like an apple tart, but that's kind of discriminating. Okay, so, you know, this is just perfect because it folds into what I want to talk about for our first topic.
So why don't we start a new episode then?
Okay, sure. And give me a signal anytime you think we should get ready to wrap it up, as opposed to just...
Yeah, absolutely. This one was good. It was
'Cause-
a good flow. But when we do the episodes, I'll
Because I'm one of those guys, if there's a turd in the fucking pool, I don't get out till the lifeguard goes, "Get out!" I go, "You mean it's really a turd?" "Yes."
All right, so
Okay.
stand by.
So...